The warp storm tore through space like a living thing. Purple lightning cracked across the void, splitting reality itself. On the UNSC research station orbiting Reach, alarms blared as sensors overloaded. Lieutenant Jack Harlow ran through metal corridors, emergency lights casting red shadows across his face. The station shook violently. "Status report," he barked into his comm. "Unknown energy signature," replied the science officer. "Nothing like Covenant tech, it's like the fabric of space is being ripped apart." A deafening boom echoed through the station. The floor beneath Jack buckled. He stumbled forward, catching himself against a wall as gravity fluctuated. "Breach in Sector 7, announced the automated system. "Decompression imminent." Jack sealed his tactical helmet and sprinted toward the breach. 2 Marines joined him, weapons ready. They reached the sealed emergency doors leading to Sector 7. "Life signs detected inside," said one Marine, checking his scanner. "Override the lock," Jack ordered. The doors slid open. Cold air rushed past them. Where the observation deck had been was now a twisted mass of metal and sparking wires. At the center lay a crater, still smoking. And in that crater was a man. Or something like a man. He wore golden armor that gleamed despite the dim emergency lighting. His form was massive, nearly twice the size of a normal human. Even unconscious, he radiated power. "Get a medical team here now," Jack said, approaching cautiously. The scanner in his helmet went haywire as he got closer. The readings made no sense. Energy signatures unlike anything in UNSC databases. "Sir, we should wait for security," warned one Marine. Jack ignored him, kneeling beside the armored figure. The face was human but ancient, lined with knowledge and pain beyond mortal understanding. The stranger's eyes snapped open. Jack fell backward as golden light flooded the room. The armored giant rose to his full height, towering over them. The Marines raised their weapons. "Hold fire," Jack shouted, though his own hand hovered over his sidearm. The stranger looked around, taking in his surroundings with unnatural speed. When he spoke, his voice resonated with authority that made Jack's bones vibrate. "What realm is this? What year?" Before Jack could answer, the station's alarms changed tone. Covenant attack warnings. "Sir?" a voice came through Jack's comm. "Covenant cruiser just dropped out of slipspace. They're launching boarding craft." The stranger's eyes narrowed. "Xenos," he said, the word dripping with contempt. The station rocked as the first Covenant weapons hit. Jack steadied himself against a wall. "We need to evacuate," he told the stranger. "This station can't withstand a direct assault." The armored giant walked to the shattered viewport, looking out at the approaching Covenant ships. He raised one hand. "That will not be necessary." Golden light erupted from his palm, stretching across space like a solar flare. The lead Covenant ship shuddered, then exploded in silent brilliance. The boarding craft spun out of control. Jack and the Marines stared in shock. The stranger turned back to them. "I am the Emperor of mankind. I have crossed between realities through the warp, and it seems I have arrived at another war." The station's commander burst in with a security team, weapons drawn. They froze at the sight before them. "Lieutenant Harlow, report," the commander demanded, eyes fixed on the golden giant. Jack opened his mouth, but the Emperor spoke first. "Your enemies approach with religious fervor, but no understanding. They seek artifacts of power beyond their comprehension." He studied the stars visible through the broken viewport. "But there is something else here. Something familiar. Something that hungers." He turned to face them fully, his eyes burning with golden fire. "The parasite is but a shadow of what hunts between realities. Your Covenant seeks godhood, but will find only damnation." The Emperor stood on the bridge of the UNSC destroyer Valiant, his golden armor reflecting the blue glow of holographic displays. 3 weeks had passed since his arrival. 3 weeks of planning, preparing, and upgrading. Captain Ryan Frost watched from his command chair as the Emperor modified a standard assault rifle with components that shouldn't work together. Yet they did. "Your weapons are primitive but functional," the Emperor said, handing the modified rifle to a Marine. This will now penetrate Covenant shields with ease. Frost frowned. He had lost his wife and daughter when Covenant forces glassed Harvest. Trust came hard now, especially for a being who claimed godhood. "We're approaching the colony," Frost announced. "Covenant forces have the capital city surrounded." The Emperor nodded. "I will take a strike team to the surface. Captain Frost will accompany me." Frost hadn't agreed to this, but found himself nodding anyway. The Emperor had that effect on people. An hour later, they dropped into hell. The colony world burned around them as their pelican descended through black smoke. Covenant plasma fire lit up the night sky. "Remember your training," the Emperor told the small team of Marines and ODSTs he had personally selected and enhanced. Some had developed strange abilities after spending time near him. "You are the first of the Primaris in this reality. Fight accordingly." They hit the ground running. Covenant forces had surrounded the last human stronghold, a mining complex where 5,000 colonists huddled in fear. The Emperor moved with impossible speed, his massive sword cutting through elite warriors like paper. Frost followed with his squad, witnessing power he could barely comprehend. "Flank left," the Emperor commanded without looking back. "The Covenant commander is attempting to bring in reinforcements." Frost obeyed, leading his men through rubble and burning vehicles. They encountered a Covenant communication array guarded by jackals and a hunter pair. "Take them down," Frost ordered. The battle was quick and brutal. Frost's enhanced squad moved with new precision, their modified weapons tearing through alien armor. The hunters fell to concentrated fire. Frost planted explosives on the array. As he finished, he felt a strange pressure in his mind. "Captain, behind you," came the Emperor's voice, though he was nowhere near. Frost spun, firing instinctively. An elite with an energy sword collapsed, inches from where he stood. Across the battlefield, the Emperor carved a path toward the colony's defense center. Covenant forces broke before him, some fleeing in terror. Those who stood their ground died. Inside the command center, colonial officials stared in awe as the golden giant entered. "Your people are safe for now," the Emperor said, "but this is merely the beginning." He turned to Frost, who had just arrived. "Captain, I need access to all information on Forerunner technology, particularly anything related to containment protocols." A colonial scientist stepped forward nervously. "There's a Forerunner structure 50 miles north. We've been studying it, but much of the technology is beyond our understanding." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Show me." Hours later, they stood before an ancient doorway embedded in a mountainside. Symbols glowed with blue light as the Emperor approached. "This is older than your Forerunners," he said quietly. "Much older." He placed his hand on the central panel. The door responded, symbols shifting and rearranging. "What do they mean?" Frost asked. "Warning, quarantine, prison." The Emperor's voice was grim. "Your Covenant seeks these places thinking they will find ascension. They will find only death." The door slid open, revealing a dark corridor that seemed to absorb light. "Wait here," the Emperor commanded. He stepped inside alone. The corridor lit up with his presence, ancient systems awakening after millennia of sleep. At its end stood a control panel covered in symbols that shifted as he approached. The Emperor touched the panel. Blinding light flooded the chamber. Knowledge poured into his mind. Terrible knowledge. He fell to his knees, blood streaming from his eyes. "They built weapons against the wrong enemy," he whispered as darkness took him. The Emperor recovered in the medical bay of the UNSC Valiant, his massive frame dwarfing the standard hospital bed. Captain Frost stood nearby, watching as engineers installed strange new components into the ship's drive system. "The knowledge I gained comes at a price," the Emperor said, rising despite the doctor's protests. "The flood is not merely a parasite. It is a weapon created to fight something worse." Frost crossed his arms. "Worse than a parasite that consumes all life? In my reality, we face entities that feed on souls, on thoughts, on the very fabric of existence." The Emperor walked to a viewport looking at the stars. "The barriers between our universes are thinning. What hunts in my reality now seeks entry to yours? Alarms blared suddenly. A communications officer rushed in. Sir, we've detected a Covenant fleet approaching the Epsilon system. Massive force, at least 30 ships. The Emperor nodded as if expecting this. They seek the same knowledge I found. We must reach the second Forerunner installation before they do. 2 days later, the Valiant emerged from slipspace, now modified with technology that shouldn't exist. 3 other UNSC ships followed, each carrying soldiers the Emperor had personally selected and enhanced. The Primaris are ready, reported Commander Vega, a woman whose eyes now glowed faintly gold after the Emperor's modifications. But UNSC Command is demanding explanations for our unauthorized modifications. Explanations can wait, Frost said, loyalty to the Emperor now overriding his chain of command. The Covenant must not reach that installation. The battle began in orbit around a dead moon. Covenant ships fired plasma torpedoes that the modified UNSC vessels now dodged with impossible agility. Their prophet is aboard the central vessel, the Emperor stated, somehow knowing this without sensors. He carries an artifact that will unlock the installation. Frost ordered the attack. The Valiant's new weapons tore through Covenant shields like they were paper, but the aliens had numbers on their side. Boarding teams ready, Frost announced. We'll take the fight to them. The Emperor led the assault personally, teleporting directly onto the Covenant flagship with a squad of his enhanced humans. Frost followed in a boarding craft, fighting through purple corridors alongside ODSTs. They met in the ship's central chamber. The prophet floated in his gravity chair, surrounded by elite guards. He held a glowing blue orb. The false god arrives, the prophet hissed. Your presence is heresy against the great journey. The Emperor stepped forward. Your journey leads only to extinction. The rings you seek are not salvation but weapons. The prophet's eyes widened. You know of the sacred rings. I know their true purpose. The Emperor raised his hand, and the orb flew from the prophet's grasp into his own. And I know what sleeps within them. The elite guards attacked. The battle was fierce but brief. The Emperor's power and his enhanced soldiers made short work of the aliens. The prophet was captured alive. Under the Emperor's questioning, he revealed the locations of all 7 Halo rings. Back on the Valiant, the Emperor created a holographic map showing the rings. His followers gathered around him, their numbers growing daily. Some UNSC personnel whispered that he was truly divine. Others feared his increasing power. With these rings, we can seal the breach between realities, the Emperor explained. But we must control them all. The door to the bridge slid open. Admiral Harper entered, flanked by armed Marines. His face was grim. This has gone far enough, Harper said. You violated direct orders, modified UNSC property without authorization, and now you're talking about controlling Forerunner weapons. The Marines raised their weapons. In the name of Earth and all her colonies, the Admiral declared, you are hereby relieved of command. The Emperor did not resist arrest. He allowed the Marines to escort him to Earth, to a secure facility beneath the ruins of Old Sydney. There he stood before the UNSC Security Council, his golden armor gleaming under harsh lights. You claim these Halo rings are weapons, said Fleet Admiral Terrence Hood. Yet you want to control them rather than destroy them. Destruction is impossible, the Emperor replied. The rings are connected to the fabric of this reality. They must be repurposed. The debate continued for hours. The Emperor spoke of threats beyond human understanding, of the true nature of the flood, of barriers between universes weakening. Then the alarms began. Slipspace ruptures detected, announced an officer bursting into the chamber. Massive Covenant fleet, they've found Earth. The security feed showed the sky burning. Covenant ships descended through clouds, plasma weapons turning cities to glass. The largest vessel, a massive supercarrier, positioned itself directly above Africa. Release me, the Emperor said calmly, or watch your world burn. They had no choice. Within hours, the Emperor stood on the command deck of the orbital defense platform Cairo, directing UNSC forces with superhuman precision. His Primaris followers, now numbering in the hundreds, fought with terrible efficiency. Captain Frost led a team to defend New Mombasa, where Covenant forces concentrated their attack. The city streets ran with blood, both human and alien. "They're targeting something beneath the city," Frost reported over the comm. "Some kind of Forerunner artifact." The Emperor's voice came back clear despite the chaos. "Hold them back. I am coming." A blinding flash of golden light, and the Emperor appeared beside Frost, materializing from nothing. Together they pushed toward the Covenant dig site. A plasma bolt struck nearby. The building collapsed. Frost saw civilians trapped under rubble, a family with young children. "Go," the Emperor commanded. "I will handle the Covenant." Frost ran to help the family while the Emperor marched toward the alien forces alone. A Covenant Scarab tank turned its main cannon toward him. The beam fired. The Emperor raised one hand. The energy dissipated around him like water breaking on rock. From the Scarab emerged a massive elite in ornate armor, the Arbiter himself. They clashed in combat that moved too fast for human eyes to follow. Frost pulled the last child from the rubble just as a plasma grenade landed nearby. No time to run. He threw himself over the family. The explosion tore through him. Pain, then darkness, then light. Golden light. Frost opened his eyes to see the Emperor standing over him, hand extended. He felt strange, as if his body was there, but also not there. "I have preserved your consciousness," the Emperor explained. "Your body is gone, but your mind remains." Before Frost could process this, the ground shook. The Emperor turned toward the Covenant dig site, now exposed. A massive door had opened in the earth. The Prophet of Truth emerged, flanked by elite guards. He held a strange device that pulsed with blue energy. "You are too late, false god," Truth proclaimed. "We have found it, the key to all the rings." The Emperor stepped forward. "You found what I allowed you to find." Truth smiled, a rare expression for a prophet. "Did you? Or did something wearing your face guide us here? Something ancient that speaks with your voice?" For the first time, the Emperor showed surprise. "Yes," Truth continued. "On our holy world we discovered records. A being of gold who walked among the Forerunners. A being with your face who taught them to build the rings." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "A fragment, a piece of my consciousness cast through the warp." "Whatever you are," Truth said, "you have been part of this galaxy's destiny for longer than you know." The ground trembled again. The sky darkened unnaturally. From the hole in the ground, something rose, spores floating on the wind. The Emperor looked up at the falling spores, his face grim. "They have found us," he said. "The war in heaven begins anew." The flood spread across Earth with terrifying speed. Cities fell within hours. The Emperor rallied what forces remained: humans, Spartans, and even Covenant separatists who had broken from Truth after witnessing the horror of the parasite. "The Ark," the Emperor announced to his gathered forces aboard the UNSC Infinity, the last major vessel still fighting. "That is where we make our stand." Frost, now existing as a consciousness housed in a specialized combat frame, stood at the Emperor's side. The transformation had changed him, given him new perspective. "The Covenant and Flood forces are converging there already," Frost reported. "Truth believes activating all rings from the Ark will start his great journey. It will start nothing but the end of all life in this galaxy," the Emperor replied. "But the Ark holds another secret, a way to seal the breach between realities." The journey to the Ark was brutal. Flood-infected ships attacked from all sides. The Emperor himself stood on the hull of the Infinity during one assault, golden light streaming from his hands to incinerate the parasitic forms. They arrived to find the massive installation already a battlefield. Covenant loyalists fought flood forces across its surface. At the center stood the Citadel, where Truth waited to activate the Halo network. "We have one chance," the Emperor told his Primaris soldiers and Spartan allies. "Hold back the flood while I reach the control room." The battle that followed would be remembered for generations if any survived to tell of it. Humans fought alongside Sangheili warriors. The Emperor's enhanced followers displayed powers never before seen in this universe. Frost led a team to secure the pathway to the Citadel. Flood combat forms swarmed them from all sides. "We cannot hold much longer," he communicated to the Emperor. "You must," came the reply. "I need time to complete the ritual." Inside the Citadel, the Emperor confronted Truth. The Prophet had already begun the activation sequence for the Halo rings. "Your great journey is a lie," the Emperor said, striding forward despite the elite guards who moved to intercept him. "The rings will not transform you. They will erase you." Truth smiled. "Perhaps. Or perhaps they will open the way for your counterpart to enter fully into this reality." The Emperor's eyes widened. "You've been in contact with it." "For centuries," Truth admitted. "It promised godhood, power beyond imagining." "It lied," the Emperor said simply, then struck. The battle was brief but cataclysmic. The Emperor tore through Truth's guards and reached the Prophet himself. With one hand, he lifted Truth from his gravity throne. "What you heard was not me, but a reflection, a shadow cast by the warp. It seeks only to consume." Outside, the battle reached its peak. Frost and his remaining forces retreated to the Citadel as flood forms overran their positions. The Emperor placed his hands on the Ark's control panel. Golden light spread through the installation systems, connecting to each Halo ring across the galaxy. "What are you doing?" Frost asked, entering the control room. "Repurposing," the Emperor replied. "The rings were built to destroy life to starve the flood. I am changing their function to seal the breach between realities." The light grew blinding. The Ark trembled. Across the galaxy, each Halo ring activated not with destruction, but with golden fire that spread through slipspace itself. "It is done," the Emperor said, his form beginning to fade. "But the price is high. I must return to my reality or both universes will collapse." His followers gathered around him, human and Sangheili alike. The Emperor touched selected warriors, transferring a portion of his power into them. "You are the true Spartans now," he said, "guardians of this reality." He turned to Frost last. "Your consciousness will guide them. You have seen both sides of existence now." The Emperor stepped into a portal of golden light. His final words echoed as he vanished. "I go to face my destiny in the stars from which I came. But remember, in darkness or light across all realities, humanity stands at the threshold of ascension. You are no longer alone in the universe. You never were."